So, welcome to our Totem gathering. I'm happy that you all are here now.
so
Hello.
now, so now we can start actually talking about the topics.
Yes.
Thanks for the introduction, Chelsea. So now,
So, so the
Guilherme,
idea
what is the
today
topic?
is talk about seeds. You using a
Yeah,
part of the DNA code as a seed,
I have
and
a
this seed can. Sorry.
question in the front. I know seeds only from like Minecraft or other games where you have special seeds to spawn in a special environment or a special made up place. What are
yeah.
seeds and assets?
Yes, but that's the same constant. That's the same seeds that use a string of integer, integer of the data that determines something inside the games. And the idea is to get this data, this integer, from the DNA system, could be from the avatar itself, and being represented inside. Hello, Cecilia.
Hey, Cecilia. That makes
Hello.
sense.
Hello.
And this seed, the same seed, can be used on one game that represents something, or area, or something, or a layout, and the same seed can be interpreted in another games and have some kind of not a kind of connection where the players know that okay, I have this seed,
Mm-hmm.
so this
Mm-hmm.
seed is unique, it's mine, and one game is appearing like that, yeah, and I know that's because of this seed. The other game is gonna be like that because from this seed, the other game. So that's what I would like to bring today to today discussion.
Yeah.
And but before I start, I just want to say to Cecilia, I'm a big fan of her. I have you on Facebook, but we never talked, and I'm your biggest fan.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
Cecilia's a
you.
star,
Thank you.
big star.
She's very good. She's very good pixel artist, and a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. I follow your work. I really like it.
I actually
Thank you so
follow
much.
you. I discovered recently that I follow you on LinkedIn. Also discovered that. And you gave a talk in Nova Summit here in Brasilia that I also was present for, which was really cool as well.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We have a star here, famous artists, everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, regarding the question, Guy. So, from a game design perspective, like being really broad, because of course the DNA system would have to be tailored to accommodate the needs of every game, right? So I imagine every game that could use a seed would use it differently.
Yeah.
So from a game design perspective, up front, I imagine having seeds as part of the DNA system could be very useful. Like having an asset that could give you a unique experience that you probably wouldn't be able to share. I feel that that could be useful to some games, but at the same time, having that part, that have the seed mechanic being part of the DNA system is not something that would, for example, make it impossible for the game to have the seed system without the assets. You see? So many of the games that would like to have seeds, to have like the seeded maps or seeded events or something like that, I don't feel like they would gain much from having a unique seed attached to an asset, in the sense that seeds are good for sharing. It could make a very unique seed very special, but at the same time, I don't see, at least now, the value for a seed system related to the DNA system in Redstone Keep, for example.
Yeah, because you guys are
Makes
doing
sense.
procedural, but if you have a seed for redstone and the seed that determines the
Mm-hmm.
rooms, the shape of the
Yeah,
each floor,
yeah.
do you think it's
The
possible? Do you think
upgrades
it's
that
a
you
good?
could get, the bosses that would appear. Yeah, there's a lot that we can do with a seed system, but imagine we have a seed system now. We just implemented it on on Dreadstone. How the seed attached to the asset would benefit Dreadstone right now? I'm not asking because I actually don't know. I just want the discussion to happen. What would be the benefits to the game? What do you say?
Yeah,
Or
he
how
would.
would you apply it? It's optional, or every time that you use that asset, you have the same run. How would you use it? It feels like
Yeah,
it's limited.
it's limited. Yeah, I'm seeing that because it need to be optional. Because if it's the same seed every time, it's the same room, the same
Mm-hmm.
power ups, the same drops, the
Mm-hmm.
same loot. Yeah, makes sense. That of course we need to be something optional.
What do you guys think? Because I'm thinking mostly about Dreadstone Keep, but maybe other games could use this in other ways.
It's always depending what you are using it for, because if you are using it for, in example, a dungeon that is exactly the same like the one previous, you could make challenges with it, like challenging people to do the same thing with the same equipment, but under, like, you give the same equipment and then see who managed to kill the queen, an example.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that is a good question as well. Would you be able to share the seed on your asset, or it would be only your asset that have it? Because you could only make challenges locally, like with you sharing the screen or maybe taking turns, or you could sell your asset to someone else so that they could do the same run on the same seed. So you see that there are kind of wrinkles in the logic of attaching seeds to the assets. It is a good system, like a good mechanic. It could be useful. I just don't see how yet. For example, from Amazon blocks, I couldn't see a traditional seed system in Amazon blocks because you have to deal with the randomness of the blocks appearing. But
No, but the
maybe
idea on the seeds is to have a forest that you
I
take care.
see.
It's not the board of the game itself, but as a forest, as a second place that you have your forest with a unique appearance, unique elements.
I see. Well, that makes sense because you can share the forest. It's yours to take care of. That makes sense. And you have the name seed, which makes sense as well with a
Yeah,
forest-based game.
pun intended for sure.
Yeah, pun completely intended.
Well, when it goes to seeds, it's just a technological way to avoid the randomness gap. Like when it goes to computing and engineering, there's no real random. It's just the hardware grabbing some numbers. Let's say the clock, multiplying by a key, and say the clock will always change, and then it will generate things procedurally. I feel like this more useful when you want random and different behaviors, which you can still use, and probably maybe more useful in adventure games like pretty much like Minecraft, for example. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that I agree. That's the way seeds work. But again, I think it depends on the game, right? Could you see a seed system attached to assets in Loire, for example?
Yeah, I tried, but I couldn't. I couldn't imagine a way because sort of a linear gameplay timeline, and I don't feel a way it can fit, but probably could imagine a way to make it fit, like on a different mechanic, for example, like a different run you can use a seed for. But it's not my something that they don't talk too much to each other, like the core mechanic and a seed.
Because a seed could determine the order of the spawns, something like that, but I don't think the game would benefit
Yeah.
the player experience. It's too
So,
much work.
Guy,
So
Chels. Oh,
go ahead.
sorry, Guilherme. No,
No,
it's
go
just
ahead.
that a lot of people actually entered the discussion mid mid topic,
Yeah,
and since it's kind of complicated, maybe recap a
I
little.
wanted to say hi to everyone, but then you were so into the topic. Guilherme, do you want to recap?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome to the gathering. We're discussing the idea or possibility to use a seed that could came from some asset in the DNA system or Totem, and using this seed inside the games. So the player have the seeds on his avatar or on his weapon, item, whatever, and the same seed that he have, the games can interpret this seed and have some changes inside their game. That's what we discussing.
Yeah, and I made the point that I really like the idea, but I can't imagine right now a good usage for the seed system because mostly from roguelikes and games that I've seen, the application of seeds uh, is usually meant for sharing, like right? You have a seed, then you have a competition, and you can have like a speed run challenge of sorts. So attaching a seed to an asset for me right now it doesn't seem like a bonus. Makes sense? Anyone agrees or disagrees?
I have to agree there because I also know that seeds are mainly for sharing. And sadly, Vova is not here right now. I am not sure if there's a possibility to share this, to like make it a competition.
If the game have the possibility to type the seed without taking from just from the asset itself, I guess it's possible. But yeah, what could change? So have Guy from Violent Tales, Eduardo from Music Rush, also Patrick from Loire. What do you guys think? And Cecilia from Amazon Blocks. What do you? Eric also joined us from Amazon Blocks. What do you guys think about the seed system on your game? Do you think it could change? Do you think it would be good or bad? What do you guys think?
In case of night survival, seeds have a use to randomize the enemies, the item level upstream, but it's all. I think it's only imagining another use to seeds, and I think to all games to reuse seeds, we have to own script to interpret the seeds. It can be a additional work process.
Well, on lore, I feel the only way it could be useful, kind of a seed system would be like, let's randomly generate how trees are spawned here, and there's an empty space which is better for strategy when it goes to battling back enemies, and maybe how it spawn monsters, like Guilherme said. Since Luard is not about exploration and discovering like an adventure game, pretty much like those ones that relies on a sea like Minecraft, I don't feel too much benefit coming from it, but could definitely provide some new experiences when playing instead of a static scenario, for example.
If I got it
Makes
right,
sense.
is like sorry. So let's say we have avatars and items; they are shared between games. So if you want to create a new item that's shared, and we decide that this is the seed, games can interpret that because let's say let's call it a dungeon. Now this item is a dungeon, and the dungeon is randomly generated. And in one game, this dungeon is like underground with caves, and I share these rules of dungeon in other games, and can be interpreted as, let's say, spawning undead enemies in your random generator enemy spawn. On my game, I don't know, I can have a random item that is spawned into the level design that is, spikes with blood, we can create rules for interpreting them in terms of level design. That's what we're talking about mainly. But I don't know if a seed exactly like a random generator rule can really help. It's more about the concept.
Yeah, I think about
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
concept
I
and the
agree.
application. Sorry.
I don't know if I understood right, but it would be something like you have some item which is a concept for something, and it could be interpreted differently depending on the game mechanics and so on. So, in the dungeon example, so in Amazon blocks, we could maybe have instead of a cavern or dark dungeon, we could have more of a dense forest, like with the outer background being more closed up, more dark, or even play a bit with adding some spirits or something floating around, like special events in many games, like we have a thematic thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But I'd like to point out something else. If you're going to use the seed for special like dungeons and events, how is it different from a legacy event? How are we could use seeds differently from actual legacy events in the
That
games?
was, that was exactly what I was wondering.
Yeah.
It, 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 it is not, but the legacy event concept itself, it's already very, let's say, big. So it's good if we can get more rules. Like when we are doing brainstorming, when we define the rules of what we can do and what we can't. So if we have categories for legacies that are very well defined for the future, so that will be much more helpful, I guess.
Yeah, that also
Nice.
makes sense.
So we can schedule one of the gatherings to talk about legacy for sure.
Now that I'm
Eh,
thinking, the asset has an ID also, which can also be used as a seed if you interpret it on your game, I guess. But it's not shareable again.
But yeah, that's the thing. When you use the asset, the weapon or the NFT, right, for as a ways to read a seed, how is it any? Oh my god, there is so many considerations that I'm I'm
it's a hard,
lost
hard
right now
topic. I
because
know. I
yeah,
know.
it's a hard topic because it depends on the game. It depends on how the game interprets seeds and how they use the assets in the game as well. So there are a lot of ifs. If the game does this, if the game does that, and right now, when most games that use seeds are like roguelikes and somewhat exploration games, right, with random generation, procedural generation. There are
Yeah.
other types of games that use seeds that we could like maybe take inspiration from and use them differently. I can't remember.
Because in my mind, I know that CD is used to share and on speedrun.
Yeah,
So Minecraft speedrun have a category about the same seed.
yeah, I know Risk of Rain 2 also uses seeds for like weekly challenges. So everyone that plays the game has access during a week for the same seed to complete like a challenge run. Oh, you have to play, but you can only use the same character or beat the game in a certain time. And then they use the same run, so it is fair. But I don't see that applying to having assets because if I have an asset and I don't know, Guy, you have another one, they both have different seeds. How could we share it while maintaining the fact that we have like unique assets of our own? Isn't the fact that they are unique the appeal of the asset? So maybe the idea of seeds and assets just doesn't fit organically, naturally.
Uh, let me just go back one thing I said. I mean, it's I said that it looks like legacy, but I'm wrong. because legacy is something that you trigger in another game. But if you, let's say, I purchase from the Totem Explorer's website a seed that looks like an avatar, and I use it in a game as, let's say, as an example of people using the same seed to make, try to compete for a high score. So I play many games that they have daily challenges or challenges made by the community, and they use the same seed, which that's exactly is like it's not unique. It's meant to be shared, so it can't be an FT, right? Unless I generate this seed and I share it. So I don't know if it
Um,
fits to be purchasable.
no, let me explain a little because well, let's say the range. Okay, today the range on the weapon. It's a 32 character random number that determines the range of the item. These characters could be the seed, so have the range, the damage, and the seed. And the seed, it's a 32 random number. So it's already attached to a avatar or to asset or to item, and not something that you buy apart.
Okay, but well, I mean, it needs to have a purpose. Either there's a content in the game that you experience, such as an enemy or an obstacle, or something as there's giving examples of same random generator that people will play and compete for a high score. That's the two concepts I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, and how would that attached to an asset be of use to the game, right? Because as you said, Eduardo, the meaning of a game using a seed is usually to have that seed shared and shared massively.
Yes, it's the uniqueness and the shareness, the main thing about that I'm thinking. But yeah, it's a quite a challenge. That's why I bring the discussion here because it's just an idea, just a possibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
As an
I
idea, the
don't.
concept is cool, but the applications, when you think about it, are harder and harder. So maybe it's
No,
just not that worth it.
I would definitely be purchase in Totem website whatever assets such as Epon or a new one to have unique content accessible for every game that can interpret it. But of course, this should be the same for everyone. Or I mean, because it has no use if it's only for myself. I guess it's a new
Yeah,
it's like a community NFT. It's not an NFT.
it's,
So anti NFT.
yeah, I agree. My mind is racing a lot of ideas about it, but yeah. But anyway, it's an open thing. Everybody here, if you want to have a range or damage as a seed for something, you can do it for sure. You can interpret. As we all said, you guys are free to interpret as you seem fit on your game. But I just want to bring the discussion. Anybody else want
And I
to
have to
say?
admit, as a game design exercise, this is really interesting. Like to think of a seed generating asset from outside the game that could be shared somehow. So it is interesting. Maybe a bit too hard that makes it not worth it as a mechanic or a concept. But for sure, it's a cool discussion to have collectively. Like how could this affect my game and Eduardo's game and Guilherme's game, Evelyn Tales and such. So it is cool to talk about it.
And to me, as a marketeer, I always think from the player perspective. To him, it's gonna be could be very good because he could have a very unique dungeon or experience that's very good, but he also can have a very bad one. and he can kind of brag himself to say, "Hey, I have this cool experience, this great experience. It was awesome, and only I have it." And of course, in the future, play can sell, buy their assets, and this could be they make the assets more valuable or less valuable. I don't know. I just think about the player perspective.
There are concepts that's very easy to implement in every game, such as seasonal events like Halloween and Christmas. So every game has it. So it can be unique by the games or shared. Just an example.
Yeah, nice. Anybody want to contribute? Because if not, I do have a second topic if you guys want to get into.
Maybe just an overall like feeling of everyone, a comment about how they feel about that idea after the discussion, just to close it. I don't know.
Sure. Who wants to? Can you do it,
I can
Pedro?
start. Yeah,
Please.
sure. So, as I said, I really like the idea. The more I think about seeds related to the DNA system in the totem assets, the more I feel like they have no place actually. Because the concept of seeds overall depend too much on the game and are meant to be shared, which are inherently the opposite of the assets purpose. And when you think too much about how you are going to interpret it, specifically the seed, the more you narrow down to, oh, I'm going to unlock a creature or a dungeon or some unique content for that seed, it's just not that different from a legacy event. So there is really no need for the actual seed. You could do the exact same with the systems that already exist. So I think for right now, I feel like it's not that useful. Wouldn't be that useful. That's the overall conclusion I felt from the talk, the discussion.
Agree.
I felt pretty much the same, seeing that I was having difficulty uh, making difference between seed and legacy events in the first place. So yeah, maybe if there was some narrow down in that concept in the future or something like that, but I see as of now, legacy events do cover this part.
Nice,
Uh,
totally.
I think the avatars as a seed can motivate the players try the auto avatars, different avatars in the games to experience unique challenges, unique states and enemies. Uh, Point of view, I think very powerful. In my game, or case, my case, Night Survival. Uh, the game don't today now. The game don't change too much. I think we are working on a level design, a unique level design. So in your case, the game will change, randomize again enemies and items. But I think the other games, the level design more fugiu a palavra.
Hey,
Yeah.
Portuguese, we translated.
Não, acho que em outros jogos com um level design mais possibilidades, né, esse exemplo que eu dei pode se encaixar melhor. No caso da Hit Survival só, por enquanto, né, é mais questão de uso e tudo. Mas o ponto é esse. E usar avatares diferentes, cada um com uma seed nos jogos, pode incentivar o pessoal que testar várias vezes. Então pode ter um fator bem. Sorry,
Yeah.
my English escaped from.
Don't worry, I'll translate here. So he said that it could be a good idea to have different experience, but it works on some games. Basically, there is another games that don't work so well. So that's the main concept.
Thank you for having my own private translator.
Yeah, just you and Roy here don't speak English.
Don't
Yeah,
speak
sorry,
English.
don't speak Portuguese. Don't speak Portuguese.
Oh yeah,
I
actually,
think
that
Roy
is
is
really funny.
AFK. So, thank you.
So only Chelsea.
Sorry, Chelsea.
No,
I'm
all
Roy
here.
good.
is playing FIFA.
Most likely.
What, my camera is on? How do you see it?
No, but don't
Definitely
open
does
your camera.
everything.
I know. I was with a call with Roy
Very precise
earlier
guess.
today.
No, I'm listening. I just don't have a lot to contribute to this conversation because I'm not a game developer myself. So just listening.
Yet you're gonna be part of a game jam. I know for sure you're gonna
I
be
was
part of a
already
game jam.
part of a game jam, just as design. I didn't do the development part.
Yeah, you need to
See,
be part of more game jams.
Next one, I will attend for sure, but just the design.
Nice.
really cool.
And because we have some times, I have a second topic. And before I start this topic, I just want to bring up a little bit about what Oren talking last week and the week before about the DAO kind of philosophy. So DAO is stand for decentralization, autonomous organization. That's what we are building here in Totem. So again, Totem is not me, Chelsea and Roy. You guys are Totem. Totem is everybody. You guys have ownership of the Totem. You guys are in this community working together to build something awesome, to build something amazing to the players. So it's we are Totem. We everybody here on this call, everybody here on Discord, everybody who's making games, engaging first, the builders that do all the system, all the backend, everybody is Totem. And by saying that, today I was talking with Outpost developers, Outposts. I always say in singular, is in plural. Developers, and they find some scalability issues with the interpretation itself. And maybe Pedro already got on this issue, and I'm not sure. Maybe Night Chief could have this issue. Maybe Lua could have this issue. It's about how you interpret it, the range and damage as weapons. So I'll put here on the chat because Outposts is a first player shooter. For this first grant, they are planning to have 4 weapons: the pistol, the shotgun, the assault rifle, and the sniper rifle. And you're talking. I'm gonna put here on the chat how he could interpret it. The the damage and range to determine what kind of weapon. So have a high damage, high range could be a sniper. A high damage, a low range could be a shotgun. A low damage, a low range could be a pistol. And a low damage and a high damage could be a assault rifle. But the issue was, okay, we have these values, these metrics to be interpreted, and you use these assets. But beyond, if you want to scale, okay, now I want to have a bow. Now I want to have a slingshot. Now I want to have another weapon. How could I scale it if I already using the slots that I could have? Because if he made a bow could be a high damage but low range. But high damage and low range is a shotgun. So the player who have a shotgun and go play Outpost later, and with the new rules, that shotgun could become a bow or could become something else. So I was talking to them. I saw that they have this issue of scalability because you guys determine the kind of weapon based on some parameters. But if you want to make more weapons and you or use all the possibilities, how do you guys think gonna be work without the changes the one that player already have? That's what we were discussing today. One of the idea is to have a filter to determine the weapon type, but I want to bring this to you guys, and they gonna bring us this discussion to the campfire. They're not here today, but they wanna bring the discussion to the campfire. But I want to open this discussion with you because it's a issue. It's an issue about scalability. And what do you guys think? I know I said a lot of deep stuff, so
The easiest what most games I think do is to add more, in example spread. A shotgun is good on low range, but it's also spreading. A sniper rifle, an example, doesn't have spread at all. So a bow would have high range, high damage, no spread. So if you put more variables to this, you have more to work with. Or you
Yeah,
add special effects. An example, that a bow doesn't have fire damage, an example, but piercing damage.
yeah, a bow code also maybe depends on how the game plays. Make a curve instead of a straight shot. I remember Final Fantasy Tactics had that point where you could use the bow to shoot above other targets. So you skip an ally to hit an enemy who is behind it, like you fire upwards or something like that.
Yeah. So based on of what you just said, we could have another filter to have to spread, and or something like to skip a lie because what you said, Cecily, to me is much attached to the range. I get the skip the ally, but I'm thinking about the range.
So I have a actual question before mentioning maybe on the topic. Could we change the name of the range and damage in the Explorer, the Totem Explorer, outside of the game? So maybe if someone is seeing a Dreadstone Keep asset interpretation, instead of range or damage, we could write something else.
I don't know, and I asked Dan
Because
the same question some time ago. I'm not sure. I don't remember his answer.
yeah, I asked this mainly because the range of numbers inside the range and damage outputs, it's infinite. In Dreadstone Keep, we used the range to determine if the player has an axe or a dagger. But at the same time, we plan to use the same range of numbers. I think it's 1 to 10 or something like that, to make an
No,
infinite
now it's
infinite.
a 32. It's a 32 integer.
I see. I remember, since I'm not an actual developer programmer, I just make the game design and art. I remember the discussion being that the number had to be a full number. It couldn't have like uh, decimals or
Oh,
something like
no.
that.
Yeah,
I don't
it's a full
remember
number. It's a full
precisely.
number.
Yeah. So the thing is, there was a way to use the entire number and the numbers in between to determine the other exceptions like the materials and such. So inside the range and damage value, you have an infinite range of possibilities that you can interpret. So it's not, I feel, at least I may be wrong, since that's an actual programming skill or something that a programmer would better suited to inform you. But from the design perspective of what have we done in Dreadstone, I remember there was a lot more room to add, for example, new weapons or new types of interpretations inside that configuration. The thing is, if the system allows you to make all kinds of interpretations, the only thing that stops us from doing that is how the Totem Explorer may be able to show that information. Because, of course, if we have to make a fighting game, or sorry, a racing game make sense with damage and range, it won't. The car or whichever you are using to race needs like speed and throttle, acceleration, and other types of attributes or stats, and range and damage will not make up for it. So maybe the solution is that in how we showcase, we use those numbers to showcase something else, the actual attributes that you have on the game. Makes
the
sense.
values or the idea is not used as range or as damage, because if you have a weapon that use the same damage as the one from the asset, your game could be, or totem system could be a pay to win, because if you have a really high damage weapon and you buy it, you are overpowered and create a lot of balancing issues. But the way people interpret Three Tails, I don't remember the properties that they interpreted, but they use tools, and I guess they use the range to determine the kind of tools. But the issue I'm trying to bring is, okay, we have two parameters, we have damage and have range. By using two parameters, you have only four options. If you use three parameters, you have nine options. If you have four parameters, you have 16 options. And how do you scale it? How do you in the future restaurant? Okay, now you want to have, I don't know, 50 more weapons, or Luar or Night Shift want to have 50 more weapons, or Music Rush you want to have 50 more instruments. Based on what is already done, how can you scale it? How more parameters or filters you can use that don't change the one who already have, but to have new weapons.
Yeah, in Night Survivor, we decide for in first moments to not use the damage and range information because the balancing issues, exactly. But thinking here, it's just four weapons can start the game using topping assets. Candle, the stickball, oh my god, shots, and I don't remember now. But we can use the ranger information, for example, to change this weapon. For example, stickball. If this stickball has more range, it can be a airplane size. So I think we can use this information, the range, to bring more weapons. Really.
But you guys not using. But if you start to using, does this can change the weapon that the player already have? So I play today. I have to skip ball, and you apply the new rules, and my skip ball turns to airplane. I lose my skip ball, but now I have airplane. You know.
Mm, yeah.
It's pretty much what we did on War, like the range property and the damage property sort of defines if you got A weapon or B weapon. It's the same property, but we're reading like, oh, this run to 50 and this is 51 up to 10 up to 100, and this is gonna be a weapon depending on the value.
Yeah, and if you want to scale it, want to have four more weapons. How could you do it?
In on our case, I guess we could, instead of a large amount of numbers, we could like split it more. Like instead of 50, 1 to 50 would be 1 to 25, and we got like 4 new weapons inside the same range. Could be could be something we could do. I mean,
But that
Yeah,
could
no.
change one weapon into another type.
uh, probably you. Okay, if you have like an asset that is like number 45, for example, and now this weapon signature is gonna be from 1 up to 25. The weapon will change in game because it used to be another, and we changed like the reading and the interpretation of this number. But yeah, there will be like 4 new weapons inside of the same without changing the technology too much. I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
no, yeah, and the issue I'm seeing is that so the player now plays Luar today as a bow, and tomorrow you're gonna play again after update. It's not a bow; it's a Zarabatana now. Isn't
Yeah,
the player gonna be a little pissed off? And that's
probably
the
yeah.
issue. That's the issue with Outpost guys saw, bring it to us, And I'm bringing you guys
Um,
because I have no
I have
idea what's the answer.
I think maybe it's also possible to take the same stats and just change it up. An example, to add classes. If I play a ranger, I have the sniper, but if I play a hunter, I would have with the same stats a bow.
That's a good idea actually, because on War we're reading like two different assets, which one is the avatar and the other is the weapon, which are different crypto entities in terms of blockchain. And if you have a different avatar, it's gonna be another weapon depending on the weapon value. The weapon is also a totem asset. We're using two totem assets on War. One for the avatar and one for the weapon. That could work. That could work. Would relies much on the avatar, by the way.
Yeah, it relies much on the avatar and also what Outpost would like to do with it.
Yeah.
So if they want later a scalability but don't want to add more parameters how to define the weapon, then it's actually quite interesting to use a character, because if they want later to add more weapons, they can just add a new character with an example 4 new weapons.
Yeah, that
I
makes
guess
sense.
the problem would be like, I don't know, for a matter of fact, that if the other games does read more than one asset from Totem, because I don't know if there's a game that only reads a weapon, for example, and they would be like out of this logic of
No,
implementation.
every great game using both.
Oh, cool. Oh, then that's a solution. We got it.
Yeah, I just thought of something. I want to say it so you guys see if it makes sense. Because Guilherme, correct me if I'm wrong. Both parameters have go from 1 to 32, right?
Not 32, it's 32 characters. It used to be from 0 to 100, now it's 32 characters. From 0
32.
to, I don't know how many billion, trillion, 4 billion that's now.
So yeah. So in theory, it actually makes for a lot of slots. Because imagine if you have one of range and, as you said, 100 attack or damage. That could be one exact weapon, one precise weapon. And if you change any numbers from any of the other stats, it could be another different weapon, like very precise, very precise. So that means, in theory, a game could interpret uh, thousands and thousands of different weapons or assets or characters and such. Make sense? So maybe there is not that much of a scalability issue. It's just about comprising each weapon to a segment or a combination of segments, even if it's arbitrary, completely arbitrary. Because for the example that you said, Guilherme, high damage, high range as a sniper makes sense. But if the guys want to like do a bow and arrow, it's still very precise and still could be high damage. It could share the same length space as the sniper, but in a different slot. Like they are near each other. So if the guy has a sniper, he has a sniper. If the guy has a bow, he has a bow. You could slot them near each other and be completely different weapons. Make sense?
I
Yeah,
think it makes sense.
just as this things in absolutes. So be a Jedi, and instead of high damage, high range, damage equals 32, range equals 28, something like this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Dealing in absolutes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this
And
would
maybe if you guys, yeah, sorry, please.
this would make it easier too.
Yeah, and I say this because in Dreadstone Keep, we use the damage range to determine if it is a dagger or an axe, and we use the range as well. I don't remember precisely how are the separations, but we have thought about adding bow and arrow and like a magic staff, and already slotted uh, these weapons in their respective places, much like the example Guilherme did. But we could do with like sword and shield and other kinds of like spear. Spear has a longer range. Maybe it's in the middle in terms of damage, while dagger has a lower range but has very high damage or low damage. There's a lot that could be done in the middle, like right in the in different slots. I see.
Yeah, I see that. I think it's a good solution. And Eduardo and Henry, you guys are programmer. I don't know if I guess Eric also a programmer. I'm not sure. It's possible to have this callback. You have a 32 characters number, and it's possible to ignore part of this number. Like I don't know, the first characters ignore, use just 5 characters, and then ignore the rest of the string. It's possible.
Yes,
Why not? Yeah, sure.
it's
Sorry.
possible.
Yeah, I think it's possible too, right?
Sure. It's like the internet works.
Yeah.
We can
Eu queria,
turn the integer to string, select to just sum of characters, and turn to integer again.
Nice. Cool. That's a good solution. That's a nice solution.
Queria perguntar uma coisa. Foi mal se não tá falando inglês, né? Mas se o Guilherme puder dar uma moral aí pra gente
Sure,
poder.
no. I speak Portuguese. I'll translate it later. No
Foi
problem.
mal. Eu não sei se já foi respondido, mas o range, né? Vamos dizer assim, o máximo de dano e o máximo de range do asset das armas tem algum limite ou é infinito?
Okay, I'm gonna translate it. I'm gonna answer. He asked if the range and damage it's infinite or is finite the number. So the number is finite, is 32 characters. Então são 32 caracteres de números máximo. So can be 00001 or 99999.
É um número grande, ok.
But how they use it? They don't use this number to make the damage on the game. They use this number to determine something. So the kind of weapon and on return to keep. So the determinant if it's X, and if it's X, the damage the X does is always the same. Okay, we have upgrades, sight again, all that stuff, but the base damage is always the same.
Dá pra usar pra porcentagem, né? Tipo, só um parâmetro com base, né? Entendi.
Yeah, yes, just to determine the type of weapon, not the damage itself.
Entendi. Obrigado.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any more questions and want to say something? Or today everybody's so shy?
You're also used
No, I think
to Idan or Oren just taking over and talking.
yeah, exactly. That's the norm.
I love
Someone
them,
has
but
to
I have a more different approach to bring the discussion and have you guys discuss. But I do love them.
Yeah, I think on the topic that I have no more comments, but if anyone wants to ask anything, I don't know. For me, it's a solved matter.
For me, it's good too.
Cool.
To me, also, I'm gonna send this record to Outpost teams, and of course, everybody who have this issue can have access to this recording. That I don't know when we're gonna upload on YouTube. So before we wrap it up, we have a few announcements. So every Tuesday and Thursday we have these events, and as I always forget which one is which one. So the day before Monday, we always
Tuesday.
have the game night. Yeah, thank you. I always forget. My mind don't record it. We have the game night. So next week we have game night. The game is going to be announced by Chelsea. We do. I don't want to say today. We won't say today. You guys are all invited, and it's a friendly competition. We play games, have fun. We have prize for the first, second, third place. Have different challenges for each game, so you guys are always welcome. Chelsea, if you want to say more, please go ahead.
So at the moment we have Tuesdays our game night. You are all welcome to join, and you are also welcome to bring friends. So it's for everyone open. We try to play always one game from Totem. So we had Night Shift Survival and we had Redstone Keep. On Tuesday we are announcing the next game. We don't want you to learn silently. And on Thursdays we have community gatherings. Sometimes we have special topics, like today the game seeds. But in general it's just for you a place to ask questions that come up over the week, to share what you have done in your games, the progress you've made, and of course any news we have.
And next week, spoiler alert, next week Eduardo gonna make a really nice session about postmortem from Music Rush. Everybody's invited to join us.
I still don't
Right,
get
Eduardo?
warm with that name. Postmortem. Yep,
Yeah.
it's that.
Yeah. No, game going to is aiming to be great.
It'll be awesome because Chelsea and Roy was like, no, don't use post-mortem, but it's an industry terminology, so the game is not that. Music Rush is being born. It was already born, it's being reborn, and gonna be reborn, and gonna be hit the future page on Google, on iOS, on all that stuff. And everybody's invited to join us to listen and learn from Eduardo. Also contribute to talk about your own postmortems, your experience. The idea, we are community. We are. I always remember to say the sum of the part is bigger than the part itself, something like that. I always forget to say, but we grow together as a community, and everybody's growing together.
When's it gonna be? I'm sorry.
The game night is terça, sorry, Chelsea, and the gathering is quinta.
Yeah, but the gathering is about the postmortem, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Love it. We sort of did a postmortem internally, so it would good to share our experiences.
Awesome. And one quick reminder for those who apply for the Secret Santa. I don't remember who applied or not. You guys have until 15 to send Chelsea your gift. And we have the gathering for the Secret Santa itself. The event itself is gonna be on 22, right, Chelsea?
22nd.
And Chelsea, Roy, have any more reminding announcements, something like that?
No, I just want to say that I'm Santa of someone in this meeting. That's all I'm going to say.
Gonna say send what? Sorry.
That I am Santa for someone who is in this conversation. But that's it.
I still didn't understand. Sorry.
He is Santa for someone in this conversation.
Yeah,
Oh, it's me. It's me. It's me. You all,
very lucky guy.
because me and Chelsea, we rigged the system. Everybody took me.
Yep.
I wanted you, but you know.
Guilherme was actually giving me chocolate just that I put everyone as Santa for him.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
I
Yeah.
I am a Santa for someone here today too. My
Ooh.
Oh god. A lot of teasing happening live.
It's like spoiler.
So nice. Thanks so much, everybody.
everyone.
And we can hang out here if you want. We can talk about that stuff. But for the gathering itself, it was this topic I had in mind. Thanks so much for me here. I know that it's evening for we, because for Chelsea and Roy it's already night. But thanks so much for being here to help in this discussion, to help grow and make it a big, better Totem. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
And,
Guilherme. Thanks everyone.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, everyone. Until the next one.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everyone. It was my first gathering. I'm new to Totem and to Amazon Blocks.
Then I'm very happy you're here, and I hope to see you further
Yeah.
soon.
Welcome
Thanks.
aboard. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
So I'm stopping the recording now.